Hey everyone, Shawnta Jackson here. My purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others, and welcome to today's show. We are streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube, and I really appreciate you for joining me. Please be sure to enter your comments and questions in the chat box so that we can make this an engaging conversation. My guest is Clevonne Funches, and Clevonne is a motivational speaker from Las Vegas, Nevada. And based off of his insight and personal experiences, we'll talk about what he refers to as cultural entrapment, clinching to trauma, embracing possibilities, and then we'll kind of talk and touch on how we can help to protect our children from going through these same experiences. At this time, everyone, please do welcome my guest, Clevonne Funches.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, Mr. Funches, how are you today?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I'm here. I'm not.
All right. Praise him, praise him. Go ahead, go ahead.
Right. And I often say, I'm not. There's a time for everything and there's a season for everything. But as of now, I'm not really mourning. I have experienced death in my family this past week, and my family members are mourning. But I'm in a really good space. And so I'm just grateful just to be here to chat with you and for this opportunity.
Man, likewise. Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor to be here on the show and to be able to do this interview with you. So I have a lot of regard for you, and just love what you do all the way across the board, because you'll be shocked at how many people is actually watching you from a distance. So I have to give you your props right here. Like, thank you so much for what you've been doing and the sacrifices that you've been making to raise the bar for so many people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the affirmation and the positive and the reinforcement. That means a lot for me. I was watching your show on Facebook. You stream live on Facebook, and you were talking about relationships. And I did want to talk to you a little bit about that, but I've had previous shows talking about relationships, and just based on your bio, I thought that was more impressive. I thought that would be more beneficial for the audience to hear. And I'll ask you questions, of course, about relationships. We can go into that, but I really wanted to focus on just your background, your past experience, and how you're using your experiences and your life lessons to motivate, empower others. So if you don't mind, could you please tell us a little bit about you and about your background?
Okay, so for me, myself, born and raised, native of Las Vegas, Nevada, UNLV. So if you ever see me rocking UNLV, is because, I got a high regard for where I'm at. And it's just a blessing. Once you mature, you actually see things for what they are. So I'm born and raised Las Vegas, Nevada, elementary school, middle school, high school, everybody West Side, from all different areas. And growing past a lot of different things where I would say definitely being misled, not having the information, the insight that's needed. So that's where I'm at right now at this phase.
Okay. And I was reading your bio. So your background, you were raised in public housing, as you mentioned, in old historical West Side, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And you joined a gang at 11 years old.
Yeah. So I would define that as more of. Have you seen that movie with Meek Mill's City of Charms, The Kings? Have you seen that movie with the kids just riding the bikes, the dirt bikes and stuff, and all the kids adapting to what's going on in the environment? That's more of my situation when it comes to the gang. And the reason I say it like that is because you have some kids that actually get caught up in it and get stuck, and you got some that try to find a way to get out at the same time, like they wake up a lot sooner. So I was one of those ones where it's a cultural thing. It's what's going on around you. So what do you want to do? You want to adapt to it. And kids are impressionable. So that was the thing going on. You know, people have pit bull fights. What they doing? Dogs fighting down the street. Everybody want a pit bull. You know, I'm pretty sure if a pit bull could have fought a giraffe, we would have fought it. So that is just what's going on in the culture. That was the situation where I myself adapted to. And as far as my mom tried her best to try to keep us out of trouble. So she would send us to church, and we had this church van that come bag us all in this church van, and we ain't have no AC. So we had to get on the church van and go to church. And it was this old country lady named Miss Esther McKinney y'all come get up in this van. And we have to go get in that van, and we go to church, sing, and do all the Bible study. And when we get out, it's going down in the neighborhood because you adapt to what's going on around you. So my mom was doing her best to try to show us a different direction as well. And it did pay off. So don't get me wrong on that part. But kids got to learn. When you learn the hard way. So your parent is trying to save you from something that they know, that they've seen. And that's what my mom was trying to do. She was trying to really save us from going down a certain path.
And so by you joining a gang at 11, mm-hmm. and being involved in that life, is that what you refer to when you're talking about the environment? Is that what you're referring to when you say cultural entrapment? Oh yeah, definitely. It's a culture.
It's a culture. If all your friends are pledging, what you want to do? You want to pledge, right? If everybody is gotta take do a stretch up in the joint, what is it? That's the thing to do. So you adapt to what's going on around you. And that's the culture. So the culture entrapment, it could break a lot of kids and it can help some. So it's kind of catch-22. Is the culture that's going on in the neighborhood, you're fighting to survive. So you always got somebody that want to fight you head up. You're a passive aggressive kid, you cool. Somebody want to fight you head up, what's going to do? It's going down later on after school, right? So you get caught up in the culture. And that's what I mean when I say culture entrapment, because a lot of us just adapt to what's going on around us. I'll say it like that.
Okay. And so how do we change the culture?
How do you change that culture? Jesus.
Or what are you doing to help to change the culture?
So what I'm doing to help change the culture is bringing awareness to a person's thought process, because of the fact that the way I was raised for myself, I was raised that you couldn't go to college, and mentally, and I'm talking about the people that's in the neighborhood, what's going on, what's surrounding you. You go to prison, you go to the joint. So a lot of us not too many people go to college in these environments either. So it's not something that's pressed upon you. So what am I doing myself to change that? I am actually, that's one of the reasons for the videos, to one, encourage people, two, to help people with awareness, because a lot of people, one, need encouragement, two, need to have an awareness of different things, what we are unaware of as well. And because I was raised in this thing of the church, let's go there. So now you got two parts. You got the part of being out here within my environment, and then you got this other environment I was raised in, which is the church. So I got twofold, right? So now I am trying to enlighten people who are in church as well, not just people who are in the community, because there's people in the church who got some issues that we ain't gonna disclose, but a lot of people got the issues as well inside of the church. So I'm looking at it on both ends. You get what I'm saying? So there's a thing that goes on in the culture of the church, right? Where it's okay for everybody to judge you and put you down, but they will hang out your dirty laundry and keep theirs in the backyard, in so many words. And encouraging people, hey, don't worry about what people think about you. Because we are taught, don't worry about what people think about you, but then we're conscious about what people think about us. So that is a double standard right there. And when people can embrace being themselves, then they will be able to become better. When I say be themselves, not sit there and worry about what this person think or how they feel. And I'll give you a prime example. I have my son. So my oldest son will be 20 years old this year, right? And when I had my son, my mom had so many kids in the house. So many kids in the house, and somebody in the church came and asked me, who baby is that? I say, oh, it's just my little cousin. Yeah, I'm 19 years old, but once again, consciously, I'm worried about what they think. And so this one lady comes up to me, she say, hey, don't you ever worry about what these people think about you. And don't you ever in your life deny your child again. Her name is Barbara Blake. I'll never in my life forget that. And I just sat there crying because I didn't know how to separate the two. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to be a stand-up person in the church, but then I'm trying to make sure I represent where I stay at as well within my environment. So that is so making people aware of how do you become yourself? How do you reach your full potential? How do you get out of this mindset of where you were raised and what's going on around you? Because it's all in your brain. It's all in your mind. So when I'm saying it's in your mind, it's really in your mind. It really is. It is your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to make you or break you. And a lot of people don't think that, but your thoughts, your brain is the strongest element in this world.
Yes, thank you for that. And so you just kind of touched on a little bit about embracing possibilities, and and we'll talk about how you recognized and how you embraced your own possibilities. But so what I'm doing right now, based off of your bio and what I know about you, I want to walk through like a timeline of your life. So we're at age 11. So we're at age 11. We're going to church, but we're in the neighborhood, and so we're battling. But you're banging. But you are you're
in the choir stand throwing on my set. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you're unruly, or your behavior, and your mother kicks you out or asks you to leave at age 17.
Yeah, so that's one of those things too, when your parent is trying to make you aware of some stuff and you don't want to listen. So my mom, and this is for a lot of parents out there that's watching. One of the hardest things to deal with is your kids who are going through that hormonal phase. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I denounced Jesus quick for a girl. I became other religions real quick. That's a whole nother story. So my mom come and tell me, she like, hey, you need to leave that little girl alone. And because young boys don't know how to home in those hormones, man, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, I was down to fight. My mom like, you need to leave her alone. You don't know nothing about her, mama. You don't know anything about her. She's a good woman. She loves Jesus. You don't. I'm over there. And my mama, mama like, you losing it, boy. You lose it. And there's a lot of kids that go through that. There's a lot of families that deal with those same issues because they don't know how to relate to those kids where they are. And so these are things where I'm saying I'm trying to help people recognize what's going on in their homes and to become better when it comes to the families as well, that family dynamic. Because you don't want, my biggest thing, I don't want a lot of people to go down the same path I went down. And I'm conscious of that. And a lot of the older people, what they would always tell you is they'll say, oh, you'll find out, you'll know, you'll learn later. In this phase of life, my thing is you go down that street, you're going to break your ankle. And there's a pothole right there. That's my delivery in conversation with making people aware.
Okay. And so how, in your opinion, so you started to give parenting advice and advice to caregivers of children, but in your opinion, how can we protect our children from some of the traumatic experiences and from from like the gang activity, different things like that?
Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because you adapt to survive. In your environment, you're going to adapt. So what's going on is a lot of the kids are going to adapt. Who is their role models? Who is the individuals? Kids need something to do, something to be into, to redirect them. A lot of times to reassure that hope. Because some parents, let me say this too, there's a lot of parents that work a lot. There's a lot of parents that's trying to figure it out, that are busy, that do need that help, that do need that reassured support. And that's what we want to make sure we do is add that element for them. And to retract really quick on the question that you asked me before, because you were saying I drifted off, so my fault. You was asking me about the element when my mom put me out and then what happened with me getting shot, right? So with that situation, you want to come back to it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so with that situation there, so with the actual situation of actually getting shot, let me tell you something. It was an honor to get shot. That's backwards, right?
Yeah.
That's backwards. But I'm gonna tell you right now, ain't nothing sexy about getting shot. Ain't nothing sexy about going to jail either. I'm cool on both of them. Because the situation is with me getting shot is the person who actually shot me was actually looking for somebody else, but then he seen me, so he got a 2-for-1 at night. And the biggest issue is because I thought that they were still lighting off fireworks, the kids lighting off fireworks, and not knowing that this person is shooting at me until I actually started seeing the bullets like fly past my face, like literally like the Matrix. So, at that time, growing up, it's like everybody giving you your props. Man, you got shot, you got hit a couple times. Oh, you the man.
Wait, pause. So
Okay.
you're skipping over a lot of stuff. Hold on. So
Okay.
you were shot how many times?
5.
You were shot 5 times. And tell me about your recovery phase.
That was a hard one. That was a hard one. So the recovery going through that, I went through what we would know now as post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't know. I didn't know what the post-trauma was at that time because we're not taught this. We're not educated on this, and kind of drifting off a little bit. When somebody tell you to go to counseling, what people say, you don't need counseling, you need Jesus. You need to pray about it. No, you really need to go to counseling for a lot of different things that happen in your life. So with me getting shot, I couldn't move my limbs and they had to literally teach me how to breathe again. So the person comes in and they sit there and tell you, take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out. And I will go through these panic attacks. And it took me a while to learn how to breathe again. Can you believe that? A natural thing that we do, I had to be taught all over again. As far as the part with my limbs, I couldn't move my legs or anything. So I'm telling the doctor, like, hey man, look, you see my toes and stuff. He like, it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. That's what the doctor told me. It's all in your mind. And I'm like, no, man, you see my toes moving? My toe was looking just like this right here. And, I didn't know no better. But mentally, that's what I'm saying. Mentally in my mind, I'm like, these toes are moving. They're going to move. Eventually, like my toes are moving. My feet were moving. I'm like, wow. So that's why I'm getting this thing where I'm telling people from experience, it is in your mind. It is in your brain of what your outcome may be.
Now, what about clinching? So you went through that experience. You're father of 6, and eventually you figured out a different way because, as you mentioned in your intro, that you went to UNLV. So how did that come about? So how did you go from being shot in a coma? You left that one out. In a coma for, was it 6 months?
No, just a month.
A month? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, a month in a coma. You wake up and you can't move your limbs for how long?
This went on for like a couple of months type of deal.
Okay.
Yeah, because I used to wake up in the middle of the night and I couldn't move. Like I would be paralyzed again. Like literally, like the event happened all over again. That's what I was talking about with that trauma. When you're going through that trauma, you don't know that. You get what I'm saying? So I didn't even go outside for a long time on the 4th of July because every firecracker sound like gunshots that are shooting at me. And to this day, it still kind of sound like it, but I can tell the difference. But that was my own paranoia, like, okay, they shooting at me again. Somebody trying to get me. So I know I just drifted off from your initial question.
Yeah, so really quick, we have my cousin Shamika Pace. She's watching from Las Vegas, and she says, personally, I understand what he means. Getting shot created the person, mother, wife I am today.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true because it makes you more aware of some different things. It definitely makes you aware of a whole lot more, and you think a lot different too. You truly do think different. So I agree with her on that part too. And I tell my kids, any other kids, you don't want to go through that. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't try to go out to prove something because I have a lot of friends that didn't make it from one gunshot. I have a lot of friends that ended up paralyzed for the rest of their life. And for me to come out of all of that, to be where I'm at, to even have this dialogue with you, that's a blessing in itself. That's a blessing beyond what I could ever imagine. Now I'm more mature enough. But at that time, I'm like, man, I should have died because the respect is in death. That's another backward situation. You understand what I'm saying? Psychologically, in that culture of what's going on in your neighborhood, you are taught so wrong. You are taught so many things that are so wrong that are cool. Like go to prison. That's so cool. So I'm like, I'm supposed to go to prison, get a high school diploma. I'm supposed to go up there and get a degree. That's where all the homies get a degree at. You ain't supposed to go so I'm saying this to say that there was a lot of kids in one house, and everybody got a different perception of how they were raised in that house, how they view things in the neighborhood in the house. This is my experience. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I'm bringing that up. So just to bring clarity, I apologize for drifting again.
No apologies. Don't apologize. You're doing good, and I'm enjoying this conversation. And we have some viewers on, and they're watching and liking and loving. And so, no, you're doing fine. This clinching to trauma. What does that mean? You talk about clinching to trauma.
Clinching to trauma. The trauma of the outcome of things that you've been through. That trauma affects you in so many different ways as you grow. So one trauma for me personally is getting shot. That's one of the many I've been through. But that one still sits with me a whole lot. There are childhood traumas that have taken place. There are many people who will come to you at the age of 25, 35, 45, 55 and come and tell you when they were mishandled as a kid, it still affects them. It still bothers them. Those traumas are things that we have to work through, because then what happens with a lot of people is some people, not all people, but some people will use the trauma as an excuse as to why they're not moving forward in life as well. The trauma is because this happened, I can't do this.
Or it might not be an excuse.
Yeah, I'm saying some. But
yeah, for some people, it's because they really don't have the tools and they don't know how.
That's true too. Very, very true. Very, very true. No, I totally agree with that as well. I'm saying some, not all, but some people. There are a lot of people that do need that reassured guidance as well. A lot of people do need that push to go beyond what has happened, because those traumas will hold people back. Those things will hold people back from actually moving forward. How many men have you seen get out of prison and go right back? Go right back. Because it's like the possibility and the hope of me moving forward, of me getting beyond this, I just about give up. So whatever. That's what happens with a lot of people. Prison is a trauma as well. That being in that isolation, that's a trauma for a lot of people. Seriously is.
Yeah, and even just with prison, but also just right now with COVID, you still have people in digital jail, digital prisons who are on house arrest, or just even social isolation. I know we're opening up more and people are getting active, but I was just thinking about that when you were speaking. I'm like, there's a lot of people that are isolated now. And they still have their home, and they still get to go to the store on occasion. And even they are having social and emotional issues. So like you said, so just imagine being in jail or in prison, incarcerated. Imagine the emotional toll on that person, right?
Yeah, that man, that's a huge effect. That's a huge, and when people come and tell somebody, oh, get over it, oh, let it go, man, let me tell you something. It ain't that easy. It ain't that easy. It's easy for people to, I always say this is my thing. There's a lot of people with opinion, and there's very few people with experience. Everybody got an opinion. Had that been me, if that was me, and the experience is, man, I'm in this situation. The experience is, man, I know what you're going through. I'm going through it as well. This is how you get out. And we need to start talking to more people who are on the level of experience, so that a lot of us don't get stuck or stay stuck.
Okay. And so I want to talk a little bit about your ministry that you're doing, but you also were or are involved in the behavioral health space. Could you tell us a little bit about, your intention behind that, and how you're working with youth and their families?
Okay, so in the behavioral health field, really the behavioral health field was a huge blessing for me myself, because it opened up the doors for me to be able to reach more, be able to help the families and the children. In education, all my degrees are education. In education, as a teacher, you can't go to the homes. You cannot go to the homes. So I had situations where I remember one young man, he was getting tried for murder. He's at the high school. And I'm breaking all the rules to try to help this boy. And I think he still got sentenced. His grandma just about had a heart attack. And then I had a couple other situations with some other kids. So these kids are going down all these different paths, and I'm trying to reach them. So somebody introduces me to this mental health thing. It was like, hey man, you can work with the kids or blah, blah, blah. So I work in different, with different people, and then I open up my own. And when I open up my own, that is a interesting experience as well. So me opening it up was really geared to me helping families. But my initial was to help families, but I wasn't braced for business. So you can go into a situation with a good intent, but at the end of the day, you got to still withhold what's needed is operating a business. So I had to make sure I groomed that element as well, because operating a business, just because you have a business license, just because you have an EIN, does not mean that you're a successful business owner. It just means you have a license. When you become a successful business owner, you're able to groom your employees. You're able to give and deliver good customer service, because whether it's in behavioral health, whether it's a barbershop, whether you are working and tilling somebody's ground outside as a groundskeeper, customer service matters. Whoever's watching this, if you are a business owner, make sure you deliver good customer service, and make sure your people who work with you do the same thing, because they are a replication of you. They are a replica of you. And when they look bad, everybody says you look bad, because you are the owner and you put them on the forefront of your face. So I know I'm drifting off with that part, but because as a business owner now of Love Life Family Services, the business grew out of control. It really grew out of control, like so fast. And that's a positive thing. I'm not saying it was an overnight process, but the process of actually building the business, the groundwork, the legwork, is not a 1, 2, 3 year thing. If you make a lot of money in anything you do overnight, that's something that's not going to fully stand correctly the way you want it to. You have to foundate it. You really have to foundate it, and you have to check yourself. Check yourself, check your support on the back end, whatever you have, so that you can have a successful outcome of what you're looking for. So with the company, it grew. It grew. All the families, all the children we're helping. But what was the number one issue of the company? Me. I was the number one issue, because what I did wrong was I micromanaged. What I did wrong was I became too available. What I did wrong was I didn't level out my support. What I did wrong, I made a lot of mistakes. So therefore, I can never come back to blame nobody. I'm not going to blame nobody else. I look at myself. So if you're the business owner, remember that you are the person everybody is looking to. So yes, my company had a lot of success, and it had a lot of growing pains as well. And at the end of the day, I can actually say, okay, I learned a whole lot from that. Now what do I do coming back around second time? Making sure that what I did then is quadruple to a whole nother capacity, because I know how to hold it on that level. And that was pretty big. So on this next level of growing whatever it is I do, I know my do's and don'ts. And another thing, I got to put this out there for somebody who's watching this. If you have, just because you have an LLC, if it has just your name on it, you're a sole proprietor. I just want to let y'all know that. So when the IRS recognizes you, you're a sole proprietor. You need to establish a board. This is business experience that I learned from mistakes I made. This is stuff I'm sharing with people to make sure they don't have to go down that path. Because I've also dealt with people that try to manipulate you. They want to string you along to no, you ain't got time for that. It's all about you making that sacrifice for yourself. You got to put yourself out there and you got to grind. You got to grind. It's going to take a little bit, but you're going to get it if you stick with it.
You made a lot of good points. So yes, you're correct. So, just because you do the paperwork and maybe pay the fees to have a business, sometimes, but you know what? It's all about your intent. There are some people that go into business because they actually want to operate, own, run, manage a business. It's an investment for them. They're investing in themselves. Mm-hmm. And then some people, for whatever reasons, they have a business just to say that they have a business. But you are correct. Mm-hmm. Most businesses fail. The majority of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then also I was reading, and I wasn't really prepared for this conversation, but earlier this morning I was reading a stat, and I believe it was less than 10% or somewhere around 10. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but of women entrepreneurs, these business owners who are speakers and authors and different things, not very many of them make six figures. And so, we do a lot. So we have to figure out, it's growth. And there's different type of entrepreneurs. You can be the type of entrepreneur that never gets started. Uh-huh. And you think you got to take a class for this and go to school for this and get this degree and do this first and one day, and then you never get started. Or you can be that person that kind of learns as you grow. But I definitely think the investment in yourself and the self-awareness, the fact that you said that you recognized that you were a micromanager, and so some of the flaws that you had, I commend you for publicly, for publicly stating that as well. And so we have a few people checking in. We have Jody Tatum. Jody says, "Hey Jack, good knowledge."
What up, my brother? What's going on?
That's family too.
Yes.
And we have Belinda Norwood, my mom. She says, "Hey Clevonne, your story is awakening and happy to see you."
Hey, my soul sister, what's going on?
And Croc is in Baltimore, and he checks in every week. So I appreciate you, Rico. He says, "Good afternoon, everyone. Peace and blessings to you all." Yes, and that's his Russell Simmons. He says the same thing every time. You know how Russell Simmons will after Def Comedy Jam, he's been, he says the same things. And we have Latasha checking in, and she says great information. And Latasha, where are you checking in from? Let us know.
All right, thank you, my sister. Hey, can I say something really quick while we're going through this? To not on this note. A lot of people always sit up and constantly say, when I get these bills paid off, when I catch up on stuff, let me tell you something. You're going to have bills for the rest of your life. And at the end of the day, that stuff is going to still be there. You got to take the risk. You got to take the risk. You got to and when you calculate how much money you use and spend eating out, you will realize that you could have actually went and got the stuff that you need and the supplies you need. Everything you want to do is based upon sacrifice. You have to sacrifice it in order to receive it. If somebody else go do it for you, you might as well say that they for to go home and take a nap. Because most people who had stuff built for them by somebody else never showed up to the meeting because they had a headache or they had some other stuff going on. And this other thing I want to say is one day I was filing taxes, right? And I had made like so little money. And the lady said, "What all did you do?" And I told her, I do this for the families. I do this for the children, blah, blah, blah. And she said, "This is all you made?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm donating my time." She looked at me, and this is an older sister. She looked at me. She said, "Listen here, baby. If you are doing this and not making any money, this is a hobby. But if you're intending on being a business owner, sweetheart, you need to make money." And I had to shift my brain because we get it twisted. Once again, here go the church thing. You're taught that if you got too much money, that you think you better than everybody. That little thinking, that crab mentality. In the neighborhood, they do the same thing. Let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with being successful because I tell my children this all the time. It's crowded at the bottom. Reach for the stars. Go high, go beyond where you are so that you can come back down and you have enough gas and you have enough resources to come back down. But if you stay at the bottom, it's crowded at the bottom. There's nothing wrong with you being successful. Shift your brain, shift your thought process. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then also, as in addition to, so some things, what you said about a hobby. So you also talked about sacrifice.
Yes.
But depending on what your business is and depending on the supply and demand and how invested you are and, you know, just how things work out, sometimes, so again, with that sacrifice, sometimes you're not going to make the income. And so this is where the business planning comes in, to where it's kind of like, okay, let me project, let me plan out. Yeah. Right. And so, and just really quick, Harvey's checking in. That's family too. He's in Las Vegas, and he says,
"What's going on, my brother?"
He says he's been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm still learning. Now I'm trying to minimize my mistakes through my experience. And so, really quick, what a big mistake that a lot of people are, that I, in my opinion in business, is sometimes we go into it alone. And I have a colleague, Shalita O'Neill, who has served on a guest on my show, and she'll be back to talk about her book. And she does a lot of nonprofit development and executive coaching for leaders of nonprofit organizations, and board development as well. And she always talks about, you know, who's your tribe. And then you even just mentioned a recommendation to have a board. Even if it's not a board, a mentor. I posted a video from a year ago that I talked about mentorship. And for me, who I am, I'm a unique person. I'm away from home, Las Vegas. I'm in Maryland. I didn't grow up socially knowing the individuals here. So a lot of my mentors are virtual people that I connect with, and or that I've met a little bit on the way. Okay. Along the way, but they've been more so like personal mentors. But I've had someone that actually hired me on. It was a client of mine that I had for 5 years, and whether she knew it or not, she was serving as a mentor for me, and I learned a lot from her. However, if you don't have, you should definitely seek. The resources are there. There's the Small Business Administration. There are. There's the Small Business Administration. Then you have your schools of business at your universities, so UNLV, or even your community colleges. And so I would definitely encourage anyone, you know, you mentioned LLC. Why are you choosing an LLC? What about, you know, what are the other options? What's the difference between a sole proprietorship, an LLC, a partnership? If it's a partnership with 2 or 3 people, is that a little bit different? And what's a limited partnership? And who has the liability with the limited partnership? That's a little bit, you know, that's different from an LLC.
Right there.
Right. S Corp, a C Corp, or even with my business, I had for one of my businesses called Engagement Associates, I had it where I am a single member LLC, but I elected to be taxed as an S corporation. So it's important, as I cannot give legal advice or tax advice, but I'm just letting everyone know, if you have a business or if you are thinking about starting a business, you know, just the resources are there and the people are there. A lot of us, we go into it alone, and it doesn't work that way. And even when your demand, the customers, your clients, when your clientele starts to grow, you can't service everyone. Your job is not to just service the clients. You're responsible for the legal, for the marketing, for getting new business. If you're so focused on serving your clients, when that engagement ends, because you weren't doing any marketing and you weren't getting any more new leads, when that's over, now you got to start all back over from square one, right? And
I can interject this really quick as well, is that people need to understand, adapt to growth. You have to adapt to growth. You have to shift. I don't care what it is that you do. You have to shift. You have to adapt to the growth. If you look at McDonald's, once every 5 years, they switch up the building. They are adapting. They're customizing. Now you go in there and press the button. Now you go and order your own food while you're in line. They're adapting to what's going on because there's something down the line that they're being ready for. So you got to be ready. You got to pre-plan for the growth. If you keep it in a minimal state and you try to get ready after somebody gets there, then you lose. You lose. And one thing I had to teach myself is don't hire family, friends, and church members. I know it sounds far, but let me tell you something. Family, act like you owe them some. Friends, act like you owe them some. And church members act like you owe them some. And when it's time for them to come in, the church members say that the devil busy. And I tell them and the devil to go back home. And so one of the issues, one of these challenges is because we want to bring everybody along with us at the wrong time. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Everybody cannot travel with you while you're on this journey. So if you're going to do a partnership with people, you need to be with people, not only that are like-minded, but people who are willing to invest. Not everybody who's trying to take from you. Because if you got to go and give them gas money, if you got to come and buy them something to eat for them to come in, they don't need to be there with you. And that's the realest thing I can ever say. Because why am I saying that? Because I made those mistakes. Trying to bribe people to come work with me, baby, I got quality. I got quality. And you are the quantity. So guess what? There's a lot more of you than there are me. So you got to go. You cannot be afraid to let people go as well so that you can progress. And a lot of people don't progress because they're so busy holding on to the wrong element of people. People's time is up. Let them go.
Yeah. Also, it's not just about bringing on family, friends, and church members or whoever about the charity aspect. It's like no matter who you bring to the table, they should have something, they should provide value. They should have some area of expertise or experience or some type of skill set that they bring to the table. And so in addition,
with college degrees as lazy, but keep going.
No, I said skill set. So experience or the college would be kind of, the education, the molding. So we know that just because someone has a certain degree, it doesn't mean that they have the passion and that they're driven and that they are a leader and that they are a good manager. Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, in titles, man, it's not about the title. It's about the work ethic. That's what you want on your hip for you to grow, for you to move forward. You need people with good work ethic. And it's like a dating phase. That's why they always give us 3 months of probation, because just like in dating, in 3 months, I'm going to know whether you good or bad for me. And if I choose to keep you there when I know you ain't no good, shame on me. Shame on me. So you got these people in the probationary period. I don't care what type of sob story they give you. If they didn't make the mark, let them go. That goes to relationships as well, but that's a whole nother story.
No, let's get to that story. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And so this probationary period that you talk about, is this something that you've always implemented?
Nope.
No, you talk about it.
Man, all right. You cool with me being honest? You cool? Okay. Here we go. All right, so here we go. With all honesty, I made a lot of hasty decisions. I would jump into a situation overnight and think that they're supposed to do everything right. They're supposed to know exactly what to do. They should know better. Baby, you just got with them a week ago and you expecting them to do a lifelong journey and you just met them. So what happens is, because of what we want so bad, and I'm guilty of this, I want this so bad that I jump into it overnight. And I have these high expectations of somebody who ain't trying to do nothing. That's my fault, because I'm wanting them to become something that I ain't even interviewed for. I didn't even interview them for it. And so, so now I have had to take a step back. And this is a part of me actually having to grow. To acknowledge you the problem. Because I spent so much time blaming other people. Oh, she should have known this. She didn't do that. She didn't do that. Who chose her? Who brought her around the family? Because here's another issue. When you bring somebody around your family, you're not the only one dating them no more. That's why you need to figure out if this is going to work or not. If you ain't sure and you just having that little lustful phase, the little overnight thing. Well, ooh, she's so cute. Ooh, she got a good toe ring. Ooh, she's so cute. No. You gotta know if this person is qualified, because why is that? You're on a journey in life to try to grow and become better. Do this person got your back? Whether it's a man or a woman. If you gotta drag somebody with you, you might as well leave them, build them a curb and kick them to it. Because it's not meant to be like that. But yes, I made a lot of, Lord Jesus, I made so many mistakes. I'm done repenting. I think God done already, kind of gave me a pass and say, you good right now. But I've made a lot of relational mistakes. And that's why when I say, I apologize to women, because a lot of stuff I didn't know. A lot of stuff I had to teach myself. And what would a lot of people say? They'll say, oh, you'll figure it out. Instead of just telling me straightforward, dude, you know what? You shouldn't do blah, blah, blah. You messed up on blah, blah, blah. I'd rather for somebody to be blunt with me than for them to tell me I'm an embarrassment and don't even tell me where I'm an embarrassment at. See, people will try to cut you down in so many different ways. In relationship, I'm saying that is something that's meant to make you better down the line. You and that person is to grow something. You want a person to befriend, to travel with. You want somebody that's your right-hand man. You don't want no anything. That's something else. That's a whole nother something.
So the personal reflection and to work on yourself. But I think it's just from what I heard, from everything that I just heard you say, is that it's important to set standards for yourself and to know what it is that you want and stick with those standards. And so when you meet someone, you're able to assess to see if that person matches with you or aligns. Not everyone will agree on everything, and there's no such thing as the perfect person, but I think that there is a perfect person for you.
Yes. And if you're going to be in it, perfect it, become better with it, and don't spend so much time doing the blame game, because that person is not the only person with flaws and issues. You got flaws, you got issues as well. So you have to be able to admit that to yourself. That's why in this last video, when I put out about being lonely, being isolated, I've been in that trance. And let me tell y'all something, that's hard. I'm telling you, because I'm breaking a lot of my overall culture of how I was raised, a lot of my ways of how I do things. And with me breaking that is hard. It is hard. But because I want something great, because I know where I'm going, because I know what's about to happen, I have to sit in this isolation right now. And now that I've finally started digesting some stuff, I'm not, what would Erica Badu say, bag lady? Even men got baggage too. It ain't just the women. So men as well, you got to sit down and analyze, where are you failing at? So being in a lonely place, because when you're used to having people around you all the time, when you're used to always having that negative or whatever type of element of people, you will go search for that. You ain't been in a relationship in the last 2 weeks, you're going to go try to find one to get in. So you have to sit long enough and be able to see the traits that you keep on picking.
Right.
That's a big situation that I've messed up on as well.
Yeah.
Analyze it. I didn't look at it. So I'm just like, yeah, I want a wife. I want my kids to see that I'm gonna have a good marriage and I'm gonna be a good man, and watch this. And then I get in this situation. I'm like, Lord, what have I done? Lord Jesus, my fault. That's my bad. I can't blame that other person, because that person wouldn't have been around had I not picked them. So that's one of the things where I acknowledge for myself. I want a healthy relationship, but in order to have a healthy relationship, I got to get myself better. So all those uncles and individuals, you ever heard this in the neighborhood? They got that uncle that's a player, and you be like, he don't need nobody. He don't want nobody. Let me tell y'all something. You do need somebody. You do need some element of support. You need that. Because when you're sitting there and you like, man, this is hard, or I can't do this by myself, you need somebody. We all need somebody. So don't spend the time in your life talking about you going to stay independent. Independent is good, as a foundation, but baby, I'm trying to build with somebody.
It's good to be independent, to take care of yourself if need be, and so that you can come into a relationship whole and you have something of value to bring in. And that goes with your intimate relationships, and as we mentioned earlier, also with your business relationships. And at this time, I'd like to begin to close out this discussion. But before we do, could you tell us a little bit about your ministry?
With the ministry, this is initially the ministry started for just mainly children, trying to reach children and just to give them the outlet. But a lot of the kids is the ones that was always telling me, because the same thing I speak on the videos is the same thing I would speak to them, or I would go and say to my staff when we have a meeting. And everybody like, you need to put this out on the video. No. And so that right there just brought a whole nother, it just curved to a whole nother direction. So yes, we are still, the ministry started as an outreach thing within the community to help families, to help youth, to keep them busy, because we want them to build job skills. We want them to have different work ethics. What was it that we used to work when we was in high school? Summer jobs, Nevada Partners. So trying to establish something similar, and much props to Nevada Partners. I want to thank them so much because they helped us get ready for the work field as well. And they paid us. So we're building those trades for a lot of the youth within the ministry. And we're supposed to be doing a drive coming up to send some items to Pakistan. And I haven't posted the drop spots just yet. So we're going to be collecting clothing and items, and we're going to be sending it to an orphanage in Pakistan with one of our sisters, Evangelist Cedra. This is an orphanage she have. I didn't know it was that bad, in distress, because we over here in our own clouds. So we want to expose these kids to stuff as well. Global exposure, getting out of their neighborhoods. I didn't even know you can really go to Disneyland as a kid. I didn't know. You get what I'm saying? So getting them that exposure and to be able to work within the community as well. That's really what the ministry stems from.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we have Falcon Stir Alley checking in from Uganda. He says, great information. I love the business ideas. And thanks, Shawnta and Clevonne. Thank you, Falcon, for always checking in. Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I am Shawnta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And I hope you got a lot from this conversation, or something from this conversation. Clevonne, thank you for joining me today. And as you know, just be blessed and keep continuing what it is that you're doing.
Thank you so much, First Lady, for having me on here. I truly appreciate everything that you're doing as well within the community. Much respect. Thank you so much. Love you all. I'll be seeing you.
All right. Thanks.
Mama, I love you. Mama, I love you. My auntie over there, my cousin. I love all y'all. Everybody that's over there on J Street. I love all y'all.
Bye.
See ya.